and they make up, and that public schools that make up less than half of the staff at public schools are teachers. So there's a lot more administrative people involved in schools now that tend to get a higher salary than teachers. And what are they doing? What are these administrative people? You know, you could have a principal, but, you know, you have 8 secretaries now. You have aides and special people. You have cafeteria people that they probably didn't have so much of. Unions, I think, drive up the cost of teachers' salaries.
Oh, definitely.
I can tell you that, you know, private school teachers generally are paid less, especially the ones in the parochial schools that are religious schools. You know, I went to a private Catholic school. Nate went to a public school. And our teachers were paid a lot less than the public school teachers were paid.
And they were probably better teachers.
I'm not going to discuss that. I don't know.
Yeah, well,
but I'm just saying, cost-wise, they're run cleaner, more efficiently. When you start getting, like you were mentioning, the public sector into it, you start having layers and layers and layers of administrative people.
Yep.
That sometimes get in the way of education. So you have those kinds of costs. What other costs have gone up? Oh, how about, you know, building that $50 million new high school? Things like that, you know. I had some other statistics here that we're talking about. Some of the costs were in the national spending of the $596 billion budget. $506 was for elementary and secondary education. $65 million was spent on capital outlay. Almost $15 billion was on interest payments on debt the schools got.
Wow.
And again, 8.3 was other programs that were not part of it. So there's a lot of going on there for paying for education. So one of the things we got to discuss is it fair to have federal dollars? Should the federal government be involved in states' education? Nate?
No. No, I mean, to me that's a really simple answer, and really the answer is no. I don't think the federal government has really any role to play in education.
Well, what is the purpose of public education in society? What benefits does it have?
Well, I mean, I think the goal, or at least the goal used to be to, train citizens, to be good citizens, train children to be good citizens.
So brainwash them and
them.
Propaganda. And...
Well, yeah, and I think that's what it's turned into.
That's
one of the primary goals was to find, help them find a job, start a career.
Really? I don't believe that should be the goal of.
Are we talking about what it should be, or the argument for public education?
No, I think what it should be first.
Oh, what?
And we can talk about what it has become.
Oh.
So anyway, what benefit does education of the population of a country? How does that benefit the society, the country at large?
Well, I mean, if we're just speaking general terms,
is it good to have literate citizens? Should they be able to read and write?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Should they be able to do simple mathematical calculations?
Yeah, there's no doubt.
Should they be taught literature? Should they be taught philosophy? Should they be taught ethics? Should they be taught poetry? Should they have an appreciation for all these things that make us human? Does that benefit society? Or should we just be trade schools that turn them out to be carpenters and turn them out to be plumbers, turn them out to be electricians or whatever?
Look, I think all of that's important. The question is who should teach that? Whose responsibility is it to teach that? Yeah, I think having citizens that can do math problems and can read and can write and can build cabinets and houses and roads and bridges.
Those all benefit society?
It definitely can benefit society.
Yeah, but some guys aren't going to be able to build cabinets.
No, but
we're talking about a basic education.
Yeah, right.
What should that be? I don't think it should be cabinet building or electronics.
You're thinking math, science, reading, literature, those sorts of things?
Yeah, philosophy. I think, that makes a person a better person. Ethics, morals.
Whose morals?
Oh, whatever the society is, I guess.
I think you're trying to answer the question of what should the education be without answering who should be responsible for the education and who should decide. Two separate questions. You are right. I think they're two separate questions, but I think you have to answer them together. I don't think you can completely separate them.
So, does educating the populace benefit society as a whole? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. I agree with that. What should they be taught? That's the second question.
Yeah, and that's that question.
Answer it. I mean, what should they be taught?
What do I think they should be taught, or what should we impose as a country on these students?
What you think the country should impose as the basic education curriculum.
Well, I don't think the country should. I guess that's my point.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think there should be anything at the federal level that makes any sort of
no standardization at all.
No, and do we have that now?
Yeah, we do.
What?
Well, of course we do. We have standardized tests. They have to be a certain literacy level in mathematics. They have to be a certain literacy level
to receive funding?
I don't know.
I think that's upside down because I think the schools with the worst scores will get more funding because they're in underprivileged neighborhoods.
Listen, Bofo, Idaho could teach their kids how to make campfires, to worship the devil, to believe in creationism, and to oppose all scientific theory and method. Okay. You're all right with that?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, I am.
How does that benefit society as a whole?
I don't think that you can put a restriction on what the people, which that's where all of this power should be, is with individual people. I don't think the city in Idaho should be teaching anything or should be requiring any of this to be taught.
God, that's what I'm talking about, though.
Yeah. Okay.
You have to have a start. You have to have a basis. Now, if their parents want to teach them devil worship and how to make campfires, that's one issue. That's not what we're talking about.
Well, it is what we're talking about because the parents should be primarily responsible for the children's education.
Okay, so we should go back to the 1650s and let the parents teach their kids, and that's it. And have no taxation, no public schools, no community schools, and just let parents teach their kids whatever, whether those parents are adequate to do that.
Yeah, we call that homeschooling now.
Yeah, but there are certain curriculum that those homeschoolers have to meet.
There is no curriculum.
Oh, I disagree.
In Michigan, the only requirement there is for homeschooling is that you have to teach reading, math, science, and
I see.
Government.
So there's some. Okay, so there's a curriculum. There's certain standards.
I don't think that's a curriculum.
Oh my God, that's the definition of a curriculum.
Is it? Okay, hold on here.
Are you going to look up curriculum?
I'm looking up curriculum. I am. Because I think you're a little off base here. My point is, those restrictions are very lax. You get to decide what you teach within that very broad set of things.
All right, so what you're saying is basically chaos.
Why would that be chaos?
You can just have
homeschooling works perfectly.
Yeah, because they teach them things that are based along a curriculum, a basic thing. They teach them to read, they teach them to write, they teach them mathematics, they teach them a little bit about history, they teach them about government, they teach them about politics, they teach them about, health, they teach them about a lot of things. What homeschooling adds is a religious component.
No.
That they're allowed. Yes, that's what it's about.
No, it's not.
Certainly it is.
Okay. Well,
certainly it is.
I think
they can teach them, whatever religion they want. And that's fine at homeschooling. But, in other words, they have certain basic things that they teach their children. I think they have to in order for their children to compete. Even the Amish, who are somewhat isolated from the standard society, teach their kids to read and write and do math and things like that.
Yeah, but why does any of that have to be required at any level?
I think you
what
need...
you're saying is you don't trust the people, individual citizens, to determine what their children need to know and to teach them those things, or to ensure that they teach them those things. What happens with the homeschooling community is they form co-ops. Basically, private schools.
I understand
they go
that.
there, they teach.
I know that. But my point is, they teach them certain things so their kids can survive in a society.
Yes.
Okay. What are those basic things?
Well, we've talked about that.
All right.
Math, science, reading,
so
writing.
Let's go from the homeschooling to public schools. Should the public schools teach the same things? Should they teach them to read and write? So we both agree that we should educate our children.
Yeah, I don't believe that public schools should exist. So I don't. You're wanting
Not at all. Okay.
Right. So you're wanting me to answer a question that wouldn't even relate to an educational system that I would create.
So it would be okay for a parent not to teach their kids anything if they don't want.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So we're going back 200 years.
Did it work?
I'm not so sure it did.
Okay. I don't know if it did. I mean, we're here now, so.
I mean, the literacy rate there might have been 50, 60%. Now it's close to 98, 99%.
Yeah. Well,
what's changed?
I go back to
public schools. Now, I'm not saying we can't have private schools.
Come on.
Yeah.
There's no way that you're telling me public schools are the reason people are as smart as they are today.
I am.
Yeah, that's not.
I am.
Not even close.
I'm saying that we need public schools. Now, we could disagree and we can talk about common ways to pay for that and how we get the money to pay for the public schools. But yes, I think public schools are absolutely necessary to a free and educated populace. Yeah,
and public schools aren't going away anytime soon. So I think it is important to have the discussion on how they're paid for.
All right. You would love to eliminate them all.
Yeah, but unfortunately, I don't have that power.
I know a lot of dumb parents out there that aren't going to have the time, especially in today's world when both parents often are working, striving hard to make enough money to support their family.
Well, I mean,
how do they have time to do that?
This, like every political issue, it's not something that you can flip a switch and fix. Why are both parents working and striving to support them? It's because they're overtaxed. They're paying taxes for public schools that they're not using, right? And I mean, that's why now we have both parents working. It's because you can't afford it like you used to be able to.
Well, I will give you, there is some truth to that. Right. We could go back to the utopia of 1957, where a man could go out and make a decent living and mom stayed home and raised the kids and didn't have to worry about things. But I don't know that we can get back to that very well. I think public school,
short term.
Listen, public schools have been around for, 200 years. They're going to continue to go around.
Yep.
I think there's a value to that, but I think there's problems with it and there's issues with it. And one of the things are what are being taught. What should the government do as far as a curriculum and standardization of what's being taught? Do they have a role in that? You're saying no.
Well,
and I'm saying yes.
I don't think they should have a role in that.
I think they should pay.
If you're going to have public schools,
they should teach certain things.
If you have a public school that's publicly funded with tax money, you can't avoid having a set curriculum. You really can't avoid that.
Well, yeah, but you can let the local community set the curriculum. And in many cases, they do. They're allowed to do that. They have some leeway to that. And I think most school boards realize that you got to teach fundamentals. You teach kids how to read.
We have a state curriculum.
I mean, in Michigan, you know, but not all states are going to have the same type of curriculum.
Right.
Kansas, for one, wanted to teach creationism as a viable scientific course. It's been shot down repeatedly as not a valid scientific a curriculum, that it is religious in nature and in its fundamental issue. It's not science, it's religion.
Yeah, so do they teach evolution in those schools?
They teach evolution,
because there's a really fine line there.
there is no fine line between evolution